Hey everybody, it's Matt from the house, and in this video we're going to talk to you a little bit about skate hardware and what type is the best for your setup. Let's check this stuff out. Alright, so right off the bat, skate hardware. Pretty easy. You've got 8 screws, 8 nuts, holds everything together. Can't skate without it. It's impossible. So pretty easy. Obviously, it's a very simple thing, but there definitely can be some questions. One of the biggest questions we always get, when you look at your skate hardware, is that you've got Phillips head and you also have Allen head hardware. So, which one is better? Really, to me, I think honestly they're both fine. I prefer Phillips, but for one simple reason is that it's easier. So a lot of people do like the Allen head because it's harder to strip your screws out basically without having to add a lot of pressure to to the screws. If you've got a skate tool like this Ondulé one, it's got the little removable piece here that actually has Allen and Phillips on it, which is nice. But we don't always have our skate tool around, and you don't always have an Allen head around. And if you do have the wrong size Allen head, you can strip these out very easily too. And it is very easy to actually have the wrong size Allen head as well, since there's metric and standard sizes in them. So personally, I always say go Phillips. That's just me. Again, they both work. I'm not opposed to the Allen head. I just like the Phillips because it's a lot easier to reach into a toolbox anywhere and find a standard Phillips head screwdriver. So if you do need to make those adjustments, it's just a lot easier. Just make sure that you keep pressure on both sides and push while you're tightening them down. And so you don't strip out your hardware. But again, if only Allen head's available and you like the Phillips head, it doesn't really matter. As long as you've got your tools, you got your skate the proper tools, you're fine either way. All right, and then with hardware, we've obviously got different sizes too. So for a standard 7-ply skateboard with a standard truck, 7/8 is what you need. That's probably the minimum. When you've got a 7/8 hardware, it's just enough screw. Once the screws get countersunk too, that's the other thing too, is it might not look like it's going to fit, but once you tighten everything down and the screw countersinks into the board and pulls itself into the board and becomes flush with the top of the board, that's 7/8 hardware. It's basically exactly the amount you need to go through the board, through the truck, and for the nylon inside the nut there to hold and be tight and kind of be flush with the top of the bolt and basically keep your stuff tight all day long. A lot of people like to go with the 1-inch hardware too. It just gives you a little extra just to make sure that they're not going to come loose over time. But pretty standard is that 7/8. It's a good number to know too, especially if you like to ride risers. So depending on whether you've got shock pads that are the little 1/8 of an inch thick rubber pads, or if you like to ride up to a 1/2-inch risers too. It's good to know that 7/8 just because from there that, like, let's say 7/8 hardware works, but you want to put a 1/8 riser on there. Well, now we're going to need at least a 1-inch hardware. Simple math always works. And then obviously if you're going to throw up to let's say you're putting on some big soft wheels to make a big cruiser and you need to get a lot of clearance, you're going to throw that 1/2-inch riser on there. Then you're going to need to add a 1/2-inch. So you're going to need some hardware closer to the 1.25 to 1.5-inch range. So always keep those things in mind when you're switching out your trucks and your wheels and everything, and especially when you're adding risers. It can definitely make a big difference as to what size hardware you should get. But most people that are running just the truck directly on the board, 7/8 or 1-inch hardware is all you need. And if you do have some longer hardware, it'll work just fine too. It just might stick up a little bit more, but you probably don't want to be riding anything past a 1.5-inch, just because depending on your truck and the angle of the truck and how it turns, your truck could hit that screw too if it is sticking out too far. So again, longer screws if you're adding some risers to your board. Shorter screws just make it a little bit quicker to switch out your board in the long run. All right, well, thanks for checking out our video about the skate hardware. And if you got any questions about this or any of the other stuff we've got at thehouse.com, leave us some comments down below. We're on there every single day trying to answer your questions. We want to make sure we, get you, a rad setup, but we also want to make sure that we can get that put together properly too, and it's going to perform the way you need it to perform. Make sure to like and subscribe and get that bell on too so you can always find out when the new videos are dropping. And yeah, whether you're riding some small wheels and your truck's right on your board, you're riding some big wheels, some big risers, get yourself the right size hardware, mount your board up and get out and ride. Because any day of riding is a good day of riding.